Good morning, hello and welcome to So What If I Sew, and welcome back if you're a regular. I'm Jess and this is my channel all about sewing, dressmaking and all things stitch related. And today you join me for a very special moment. I have reached and actually now surpassed 500 subscribers, woo! My channel will be 3 months old next week on the 15th, so this all feels a little bit surreal and it's been very quick and it's very strange to me that 500 of you want to listen to me prattle about sewing, but thank you, and thank you for your likes and comments and shares and general loveliness. This community is honestly one of the best groups I've ever been part of, and I'm really privileged and proud to be a member of the sewing community online. Now, today we are talking all about sewing YouTubes. I went on my Instagram a couple of days ago when I hit 500 subs and went, what do you guys want to know about starting a sewing YouTube? Because I do get a couple of messages a week from people going, everything from do you use lighting to how did you know when you wanted to start one? So I'm going to answer as many of those in this video as possible. I have whittled it down because some of the questions were quite similar into 10 questions. We're going to do a minute on each. I am going to time myself and hopefully I will be able to tell you guys a little bit more about this whole journey and what my tips and tricks are. So stick around, it's going to be great fun. Disclaimer is that these views and opinions and everything are my experience of starting YouTube. Everyone will feel different, whether that's how you feel on camera, the equipment you use, the space you have, and I'm going to tell you all about my journey. And if you've got any questions for me, please pop them in the comments below. So without further ado, let's get going. Why did I start my channel? Great question, and a lot of people ask it. If I'm honest, I'm not super sure. I didn't set out to do this going, I'm gonna have a YouTube and a blog and an Instagram. I started on my Instagram and I talked into my stories quite a lot, and I did like a little review video like for IGTV on my first John Lewis sewing machine, and I got lots of comments going, I like listening to you talk, you should have a YouTube. And I was like, up until that point I really hadn't thought about it, and then I went, actually I don't mind talking to camera. I do have a yoga YouTube and I teach online and in person, so I'm quite comfortable talking, and honestly I find it easier to express my feelings. With much trepidation started thinking about it, and I didn't know really what to do. And then my readdress from Tammy Handmade made an appearance, and that was the first one where I was like, that was the first make that I suddenly went, I could actually vlog this. So I put a poll up and I was like, should I? Does anyone want to see this? It was an overwhelming yes, so we did it. I vlogged I was so nervous, and I edited. I'd never really edited before, like properly edited. And I uploaded it on the 15th of August to my channel of the same name as my blog and Instagram, and nervously waited, and thankfully you guys really enjoyed it. But I just started it because I like talking about sewing. I find it easier, like, oh, I still blog, but I find particularly sew-alongs and techniques much easier to explain on camera, and I just like it, and I'm really glad that I did start it. I don't really plan what I'm gonna say in my videos. I don't script, I don't have anything like that. For this video I have a list of questions off screen because I've collated them from Instagram and I need to know what I'm answering, but generally I don't script or plan, and I use my phone, and I'll say more about equipment in a second. I film in the living room. I don't have a special filming space or even a sewing space. I have my little desk, and that's very much, and I have the floor, and that's very much my sewing space. So I try and film in the mornings because the light is better. We live in a terrace with like a house at the back as well, so we only have windows on one side of the house. Massive living room window, which is basically all my lighting. So it's very much on a shoestring, and I just try and film whatever I feel like. As I don't script, there's quite a lot of editing, and I just have to edit out anywhere where I forget what I'm doing, saying, swear incredibly loudly, so you know, a lot of editing happens. But yeah, I try and keep it as quick and easy and natural as physically possible. So I'm going to buck the trend here. In my opinion, you don't need any special equipment to film. I'll tell you exactly what I use. I don't have any lighting at all. I use our enormous window, and I try and film in the morning. In the evening, you get the light you get. there's a tiny light on my sewing machine, so when I'm doing time lapses, that's kind of all you need. And I do have a desk lamp behind me, so if I ever do need extra light, then I use it. But honestly, I've actually never used it for my sewing videos. In terms of what I film on my iPhone. It's an iPhone 7, so it's not even like a new one. And I just film straight there and I airdrop it over to my Mac. Because the two systems work really well together. And I also find that the file size on a phone is smaller and therefore easier to edit. I use a little tripod that I got off Amazon, it's like 30 quid. Originally I got a tripod so I could take yoga pictures for my yoga account and generally film and like do IG live classes, and then I started using it for sewing. The old one broke, so I just got a slightly better one, but realistically, I think it's about 30 quid. I've linked it below. And that's really all I use. I don't use a mic or anything, I just project and speak loudly. And yeah, I find that that works for me. I do have a DSLR, but I use it for yoga filming because and only yoga filming actually, because the file size is so big that it takes the render takes so much longer, it takes up so much more space on my computer, which when you're vlogging every week is a bit of a pain, so we don't do that. But yeah, no real tech, I don't, and I just use iMovie because it came with my laptop. I haven't paid for any software. So that's very much my experience. I know that lots of people say you need cameras and all sorts of, fancy things. I think it entirely depends on the space you're using, and I try and use what's naturally available. So I use the light, I position it. I don't even have like a nice background because we don't have space and we can't put anything on the walls. So you just get my scissors. And then when you've seen most of my house when we do sew-alongs, I just pick up my phone half the time with my hand and just talk into it. So that's very much all I do. There's no like essential equipment wise. I'd really just have a look on your phone and see what you can and can't do, and then grow from there really. Now, I'm going to take this because there's another one later on that's a bit more specific. I'm going to take this question quite generally. So when I first started the channel, I didn't, and I still don't, feel like I have enough technical skill to do tutorials, because I think personally that there are lots of other people out there doing tutorials that are really, really good. If in future I ever find something that I find incredibly easy or I find a new way to do, then I'll do some tutorials. Equally, if you would like me to do any, let me know in the box below. But honestly, I am going to do a video on fitting at some point, like bespoke fitting, because of my dimensions. That's something I do a lot. But yeah, I didn't want to, when I started my channel, I didn't have that much confidence in my sewing, so I was like, I don't really want to do that. I like a sew along. So if in doubt, I just do a sew along, because I like it as a way to reflect on my projects that I'm working on. And it's fun, the structure's already there, because the structure of the video is making the garments nice and easy. But I also like doing reviews, so I like doing the sewing machine reviews. I don't do them too often because I do them mostly on my blog, like my actual written blog. But yeah, I just sort of go, what do I actually want to video? And also, the My Week in Sewing vlogs are a new thing, and I'm going to keep them going monthly because they're really fun. Because that's when I'm like, I don't really have a big project I want to talk about. I'm just doing loads of little things, and then it's perfect. I just spread it out over the week and away we go. What editing software do I use? So I mentioned I'm a Mac user, so I use iMovie. It's super easy and simple, very user-friendly, and honestly, like, it's simple. If you are, another question as well came from somebody else who's not a Mac or an Apple user. Shortcut is a good one that works across Windows, Mac and Linux. It's online, so Shortcut's really good and it's free. And then there's more expensive ones. There's like Final Cut Pro, which I think you can get on Windows. You can definitely get on a Mac. But there's also the Adobe Premiere Pro and Premiere, like the Adobe Suite is really good. It's quite expensive, but if you already have access, for example, to Photoshop or anything and you don't know, Adobe does have a really good editing software. But it honestly, in my opinion, depends what you're editing and what you need, because I found I didn't need anything more than the basic, like I don't do anything fancy really. I just do a lot of cutting, but I don't I don't really add anything in that way. Everything I filmed is what I filmed. Like with my yoga videos, which was my only previous experience of editing, you just top and tail them. so it's really easy. But yeah, I'd recommend iMovie if you are a Mac user and you're unsure. Otherwise, I've heard very good things about Shortcut if you want something that works on all platforms. This is a good one. Do I plan oft? So I do and I don't. I map out every month roughly what my vlogs are going to be. So like for November, I have a very distinct structure because my Eden coat I knew was going to take more than one vlog. So for example, November has 5 Sundays in it, which meant that I had my stretch video, Eden vlog part 1, Eden vlog part 2, and then we will do a My Week in Sewing for November, and then at the end of November, every 3 months, I do a seasonal what I've made that season. So I have that structure. In months where I don't have an enormous coat project, I tend to look at what I want to sew that month. If I've bought any patterns specifically, or I'm like, I've got fabric, pattern, everything sorted for that, I really want to use it, then I think about the garment. But sometimes I do decide that week, if it's like a really busy work week, and I've not got much I want to sew, sometimes I'll do like my full stretch pattern video, or little bits like that where I'm like, I haven't been working on anything all week because it's been crazy, so I'm going to do something little. Or that's why I love the My Week in Sewings as well, because I do not really plan them. So what I do for them is I write a big list of all the projects I'm working on, and I write it in my little sewing notebook, and then basically every day that week I wake up in the morning and go, what do I feel like doing? And that's literally it. But sometimes with that I do plan my editing days. So I put in, for example, the My Week in Sewing vlog, it's like, remember, you need to edit that as you go, otherwise it will be a pain. So I try and fit 2 or 3 days where I do a little bit of editing before work. But yeah, I don't really like plan that much. Like I have a schedule, but it's not the end of the world if I don't stick to it, and I often don't. This is a weird one because I genuinely have no idea. I try not to think about it in terms of how many hours I commit to a project because I'm doing it for fun. So really any hours I want to. I definitely don't say, oh god, I've got to do a minimum of this many hours a week, because it really depends, especially as I'm a massive one for long periods of sewing. So for example, sometimes I've been known to sew for 7 or 8 hours on a Saturday, and that's my happy place. That's me with a podcast on, like 17 cups of tea, and I just sit and sew, and I'll film an entire vlog in that day. Or sometimes, like with my raglan dress for Trend Patterns, I did, a couple of hours on one day, 20 minutes the next day, left it for 2 days, did an hour. It depends on the project rhythm, but I definitely wouldn't say I don't look at my projects and go, right, that's going to take 6 hours of my week or whatever. I don't know, it depends how I feel. I try not to plan it too much. In terms of editing, I'm a very quick editor now. I find my big sew-along videos will take 3-4 hours of editing, but I never, or almost never, edit them all at once, because that way madness lies. I try and edit as I go with pretty much all my videos. So for example, my week in sewing, I will sew on the Monday, edit Tuesday morning, sew before work, sew Tuesday, sew Wednesday, edit Wednesday afternoon after my lectures. Like I try and fit it in so every couple of days I'm editing the footage I've got, and that means when I get to the end and I add the music, I literally just go through and double check and sense check everything. But yeah, I definitely don't commit like a certain number of hours of my week to projects or filming. Oh yes I was. Oh my goodness. I'm not anymore, really. Every time I do like a new video format, I'm quite nervous about this. But yes, I was. When I put my first video out there, I was terrified. Partially because I'd never really watched anyone else's vlogs, because I try not to, it makes me nervous. Like I do now, but when I first started I was like, ah. I also didn't want to subconsciously emulate anyone, I just wanted to be myself. But I was so nervous because I went, do people really care about how I'm sewing this and what my opinions are and everything? Apparently you guys do, so thank you. But yeah, like that first release I was like, oh my god, and then it got to like 100 views within a couple of hours, and I went, okay, well either I've done this horribly wrong or horribly right. And everyone seemed you know, to like it. You guys still like my videos, I get lovely comments. But yeah, there's still nerves out there, but I found the way I overcame them was that YouTube's a big place. If people don't like what I do, they can go elsewhere, and if I don't like it, I can stop it. It's not my job. This is something I do for fun. And you know, you've always got to make sure, my partner's very good at making sure I do this, you've always got to make sure that if it is a hobby, that at the end of the day, you're still having fun. This is a fair question. I had edited before I started my sewing channel, but not properly or in any way taught or professionally or anything like that, not at all. I've been filming yoga videos for a few years. So with those, all you have to do is top and tail them and stick them together in the middle. It's not hard. So I'd had that sort of level of experience of literally just sort of cutting footage and adding in pictures and stuff like that. But I was never taught to. I never had any form of training. I never actually looked at any tutorials because I'm very stubborn and decided I just wanted to learn, especially as a certain somebody long ago told me when I was like, I'm going to edit my own yoga videos, because they used to do it for me. We're like, oh, it's not that easy, and I went, I think it probably is. In the, you know, the yoga videos there's really not much to do. So I'm very stubborn, I'm extremely stubborn, and I was like, right, I'm going to learn to edit, and I just sort of did. But also it helps that iMovie is incredibly easy to use. In terms of editing for sewing, I really do edit down to the minute, the second, the millisecond. Like I'm a bit of a perfectionist with it, but you also do not have to be. As long as it runs together, and if you've started your channel, it's fine, you will get better. The one thing I would say about editing is it's all about the amount of time you put into it, and you will just get better, is what I mean. Like, it is very much a practice makes perfect art. It's quite hard to do perfectly the first time, because honestly, you learn, and you also learn about the capabilities of the program you use. So don't beat yourself up if your first video looks a bit, you know, blocky or anything. It is what it is, and you will get better. But I had no experience myself, like proper experience, and I am still learning, and there are still bits in my videos where I go, oh god, how do I get rid of that? And there's still things I want to learn how to do, so at some point I may look at a tutorial, but we will see. Final question. I have not kept time on these at all, so I'll keep time on this one. What are my plans? I'm gonna keep vlogging. So now I know a bit more about how much time vlogging takes for me personally, and kind of what I like doing. There's some things you guys can look forward to. So I will not be doing monthly what I've made. I will keep going with my seasonal ones because I prefer that. I won't be, some people ask me for this, but I'm going to address it. I don't film fabric hauls for YouTube. That's not something I do. I do them on my Instagram stories, and they're saved on a highlight on my Instagram profile. But I don't know, I'd rather show you guys me sewing generally, with the odd video of me talking like this. But it's not really my thing, it's not really me. However, I will do some more seasonal sort of, as well as what I've made. I'll tell you guys some of my upcoming plans or some of the big moments. I try and do it on the blog, and I will keep blogging about it, but I may do a little accompanying video for that going forward. Otherwise, we're looking at sew-alongs, and I'm considering maybe a tutorial possibly, but we will see. Also, the My Week in Sewing vlogs are here to stay. The plans really are to just keep growing, keep sewing, keep having a great time doing it, and hopefully you guys keep enjoying my content. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being one of the 500, and I think 517 now. So thank you. It's really been fun, and I'm still not quite over the fact that people like listening to me talk about sewing, which is fun because I like talking about sewing, so it's a good match. But hopefully, if you're nervous about starting your own YouTube, this has helped a little bit to show that you don't have to have all the kit. You don't have to have it all. Just, I picked up my phone and got started. So it can be that simple. Whether or not my filming will evolve in future, we will see. I don't know. I mean, once we live in a house that has more than one living room, and I have a sewing space, there may be a slightly more of a set backdrop and stuff like that, but I don't want to make it too much of a pain. There's one blog post I read when I started my channel was like, just be aware about the timing, because sometimes setting up your kit can take over an hour and pack it. I was like, bloody hell, I'm never going to do that. No. So I'm very much a believer in accessible filming, that YouTube is for normal people as well as people who have the money for everything, which is fine if you do, completely fine, but it's for normal people as well. I have a phone and a tripod, and that's really how I do pretty much everything. So thank you for joining me. Tomorrow my Eden Coat part 1 vlog will go live. It has been very tiring, and I'm now going to sew my Eden vlog for sew and vlog for the next hours. There will be hours of sewing, and hopefully make a bit more of a dent in my Eden coat. But otherwise, have a great Saturday, guys. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you guys soon.